USDA seeks input on modernizing agricultural data and forecasts. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, UA, has issued a Request for Information, RFI, seeking public input on how its core economic and statistical programs should evolve. On its surface, the notice reads as procedural, a review of datasets, modeling transparency, and delivery tools across the Economic Research Service, ERS, National Agricultural Statistics Service, NAS, and the World Agricultural Outlook Board, OCE-WAOB. But for companies navigating climate risk, emissions disclosure, and agricultural supply chain exposure, the implications are larger. USDA data underpins more than commodity prices. It influences how corporations model climate vulnerability, Scope 3 emissions, land use impacts, and transition planning. When the architecture behind those numbers shifts, sustainability modeling shifts with it. Climate variability is testing forecast assumptions. The RFI explicitly asks how USDA can improve transparency around data sources, assumptions, and economic modeling. That question carries weight in an era where agricultural output is increasingly shaped by climate variability: drought, flooding, heat stress, and changing growing seasons. Federal crop production estimates, yield projections, and farm income forecasts increasingly intersect with climate analytics used by food manufacturers, retailers, biofuel producers, financial institutions, financing agricultural assets. If modeling assumptions fail to fully capture climate volatility, downstream corporate sustainability strategies may rely on incomplete risk baselines. USDA appears to be assessing whether its current frameworks reflect evolving environmental realities. Scope 3 and supply chain disclosure depend on agricultural data. For publicly traded companies with agricultural exposure, Scope 3 emissions reporting often depends on federal production and acreage data to estimate upstream impacts. The RFI asks what geographic level, national, state, county, best supports user needs. That question is particularly relevant for sustainability teams attempting to align emissions factors with localized climate exposure. As regulatory pressure around climate disclosure intensifies globally, the quality and transparency of agricultural datasets influence. Emissions baselining, deforestation risk modeling, water use assessments, biodiversity impact estimation. If USDA enhances transparency around methodology and assumptions, sustainability reporting may gain stronger analytical footing. Transition finance and farm income modeling. USDA's Farm Income Statistics and Outlook reports shape credit markets and rural finance conditions. For banks and asset managers incorporating climate risk into agricultural lending portfolios, the credibility of these projections is material. Transition finance frameworks increasingly evaluate how climate stress affects yield variability, insurance claims, and land value stability. If USDA modernizes forecasting cadence or integrates more climate-sensitive modeling approaches, it could influence how agricultural transition risk is priced. Even incremental shifts in reporting frequency or methodology disclosure may alter how sustainability-linked lending and crop insurance risk are evaluated. Digital modernization and data accessibility. The RFI also seeks feedback on machine-readable files, dashboards, and API access. For sustainability analytics platforms, this is not cosmetic. Climate risk modeling increasingly relies on automated data ingestion. If USDA enhances digital accessibility, corporate climate analytics may become more precise and timely. Modern delivery mechanisms reduce friction between federal datasets and enterprise sustainability systems. In a data-driven climate disclosure environment, accessibility is strategy. The strategic signal. This is not a regulatory change. It is an institutional reassessment. USDA is asking whether its data products reflect modern economic and environmental complexity, and whether transparency and usability meet market expectations. For sustainability and climate strategy leaders, the takeaway is subtle but significant. Federal agricultural data is part of the climate risk infrastructure. If that infrastructure evolves, so do the baselines companies rely on for emissions reporting, supply chain resilience, and transition planning. USDA's request suggests awareness that agricultural economics and climate dynamics are increasingly intertwined. You've been listening to Sustainability Soundbites by Environment and Energy Leader. For partnership opportunities, please reach out to our team.